How's it going, everyone? This is the Anime Man. I've been living in Japan now for the better of around 3 years. Yet with half of my family being from these lustrous lands of Japan, I've had the privilege and the honor of having lived alongside Japanese customs and traditions and ways of being for basically my entire lifetime. It's always been super interesting for me, and I guess for a lot of other people who meet me, to know that I've had to live with these struggles and difficulties of trying to incorporate these otherwise very foreign customs and different traditions, especially while living in Australia, and try and seamlessly incorporate that into my half Japanese, half Australian lifestyle. And for the longest time, I never really questioned these Japanese customs and traditions that I have had to grow up with. It wasn't until I started doing series like What the Fuck Japan or Japanese 101 on this channel where I started to really think and question stuff like, wait, why do we have to take our shoes off when we enter a house? Hold on, why do we bow to everybody instead of just giving them a handshake or even a hug? Why is manga and anime so fucking good? And it wasn't until I moved here, away from my parents and getting the most first-hand of contacts with the way of living here in Japan, that I started to realize the weird oddities and frustrations that have to do with living in Japan and living and accustoming yourself to Japanese traditions and lifestyles. Customs and traditions that have established themselves in this country for decades, sometimes centuries, and yet are traditions that the locals living here have never really questioned about concerning its validity and usefulness in the 21st century. And so today in this video, I thought I would list off just some of the weird, strange, and really pointless and useless customs and traditions in Japan that, as a half Japanese man myself, living with these customs for my entire lifetime, I just don't really get. So let's discuss 10 things about Japan I'll never understand. Let's go! To kick things off, let's talk about one of the biggest cultural barriers between Japanese way of being and Western foreigners who come to visit Japan. Tattoos. Although they are starting to ever so slowly get accepted by the most modern generation of Japanese youths, the concept of tattoos is still considered controversial by a lot of the older locals here. And one of the biggest clashes that a lot of Western travelers have to face when traveling to Japan is the outright segregation and separation of people with tattoos in certain places. Now, I'm sure you're all aware of the long-running piece of advice when you come to Japan, which is, if you have a tattoo, you can't go into an onsen, or, public baths in Japan, bathhouses. I'm sure you've seen at least one video from your favorite J vlogger, whoever that may be, talking and discussing this particular topic in question. But essentially, the whole reason as to why that rule, that customary, started in Japan is because of the Yakuza, always causing problems. Goddamn Yakuza. It boils down to the historical fact that in feudal Japan, the only people who ever got tattoos, especially those tattoos that cover their entire body, were members of the Yakuza to represent their particular familia. And so local bathhouse owners at the time, in order to not scare the crap out of local passers-by who just want to go in and enjoy a public bath, outright banned Yakuza members, aka outright banned people with tattoos from local bathhouses. Rule makes a lot of sense if you're a Japanese person from the 1700s. Because how many times can you personally say, if you visited Japan, or you yourself are a Japanese person watching this video, how many times can you say that you have met or seen a Yakuza member just fucking casually strolling on the street? I have friends who have lived here for 4 months, I have friends who have lived here for 4 decades. None of them have met or seen a Yakuza member. Because I don't think Yakuza members are that stupid to just waltz into a public bathhouse to enjoy a bath when they're part of a familia that probably has enough money to just build their own private bathhouse at their manor. But the biggest annoyance that I have towards this stupid ass custom is the fact that it applies to non-Japanese people as well. If you're a foreigner, like, you clearly don't look anything like a Japanese person, you can't be a Yakuza member. It's just not how it works. Plus, this dumb rule not only applies to bathhouses, but also applies to things like public pools and even some beaches. All because your tiny little Naruto tattoo you got when you were 15 years old might scare away an old innocent lady or a pregnant woman into thinking that you're part of the Yakuza. Look, I'm sorry, old woman and pregnant lady, but your feelings, bro. People put in tattoos because it means something to them, or because they want to use their body as a canvas. They want to express their artwork through their entire body through tattoos. Sometimes people put in tattoos because it just looks dope. Either way, nobody should be judging you in a public space for having a little bit of ink in your skin. Look, Japan, if you're so set on keeping this outdated custom, at least make it exempt to foreigners. Like, it's really annoying when I take around a friend from overseas who has never visited Japan before, and I want to show them my favorite bathhouse, but I can't let them through because they have a Goku tattoo on their shoulder. Like, literally the only thing that is stopping me right now to go out and get a tattoo, because I want a few tattoos, is the fact that I love bathhouses too much. I love onsens too much. But once they finally get rid of this outdated, stupid ass rule, it's a wrap. Your boy's covered in tats. One thing that you have to watch out for when coming to visit Japan for the first time is that you need to prepare yourself for a lot of walking, because unlike a lot of Western countries out there, the easiest form of transportation to look at every single nook and cranny and cool part of Japan is to use things like buses, trains, and more often than not, just straight up use your legs. But hey, I mean, I'm all for it. It's a hell of a lot more healthier than, you know, taking a car everywhere down to your local supermarket. And it's a hell of a lot cheaper than catching an Uber everywhere, that's for sure. Plus, you get to see all sorts of small details that you wouldn't be able to experience from a Russian car window. And yet, even though this is a country where the average local Japanese person here walks 8,000 steps per day, you almost never see any goddamn benches to sit on. And I just gotta ask, why? There are so many empty spaces, even in like smack bang in the middle of inner city Tokyo, where I just look at it and be like, you know what, that would be a fucking fantastic place to put a bench right now, because goddamn, my legs are about to crumble. And yet the best you'll get is like 2 seats in a park bench like 10 miles away from where you are. Look, I realize that this isn't really like any cultural anomaly that exists in Japan, but it is a massive inconvenience, especially from the way that you have to travel within Japan. And it's especially frustrating how nobody in Japan really bats an eye about this problem. I get that this is probably actually a marketing tactic for a lot of cafes and restaurants, where if you're walking around a lot and you're tired and you want to sit down, there are no benches. So what do? You go to your local Starbucks or you go to your local restaurant to sit down and pay for a 400 yen drink that you didn't really want in the first place. But sometimes I don't want that Starbucks. I don't want that 400 yen drink that I never really wanted. I just want to sit down and enjoy people walking past me. And I feel this is especially going to be a problem as year in and year out there are more and more foreigners who are visiting Japan and more foreigners who are living in Japan, aka more and more lazy asses who need benches to sit on. So Japan, come on, if you're going to use any money to make from Tokyo 2020, put it into some benches, boy. If you're currently studying Japanese as you watch this video, I'm sure this entry is going to kick you right in the dick or vagina, whichever one you have. Because even for someone like me who is 100% fluent in Japanese, like I have certificates to prove my fluency, the concept of formal Japanese is an absolute hair puller. And I'm not even talking about the fact that there's a difference between formal Japanese and informal Japanese. No. That's easy enough. I'm talking more about the fact that there are 3 types of formal Japanese. Now, I'm obviously not going to go into the nitty-gritty details of the 3 types of formal Japanese, but to grossly oversimplify, they are namely Teineigo, Kenjogo, and Sonkeigo, which are all formal types of Japanese, but have completely different word structures, sentence structures, and even vocabulary that go with it. Like, seriously, there are so many literary rules and cadences between these 3 types of formal Japanese that even Japanese people who were born and raised in Japan, who can only speak Japanese and work in a formal Japanese workplace, still have extremely hard times trying to fully wrap their head around these 3 differences. And here's the kicker. Do you know what the only purpose of having these 3 formalities are? It's to make yourself or the other person feel more important or less important than they actually are. That's it. In other words, nothing. It's just overly confusing, extremely frustrating, and causes a lot of stress for young Japanese people who are fresh in the workforce, who are basically forced to use and try and utilize these 3 different types of formal Japanese that they don't fully understand. No wonder people hate learning Japanese as a second language. Hence Hands up if you've heard of or know the meaning of the word triskaidekaphobia. Essentially, it is the inherent fear or phobia of the number 13. Yeah, I know, that actually exists. What the fuck? Well, surprisingly, Japan actually has its own version of triskaidekaphobia with the number 4. In Japanese, the number 4, pronounced yon, can also be pronounced as shi, which is also the word for death in Japanese. So with this correlation, it actually isn't uncommon to, say, find an apartment complex that doesn't have any rooms with the number 4 attached to it. It'll go 101, 102, 103, and then skip immediately to 105. In some extreme cases, I've seen some buildings that have completely gotten rid of the 4th floor altogether. Like, you'll step into the elevator and the buttons will read 1, 2, 3, 5. Now, I don't know if I'm the first one to realize this, but isn't that the most stupid thing you've ever heard? Like, really? Are you that scared of a number that you're going to get rid of it completely? Like, what are you, 4 years old? Because it wouldn't even be that bad, and I would at least try and understand a little bit if they were consistent with their logic. Because believe it or not, the number 4 isn't the only bad luck number in Japanese. The number 9 is also the same. Pronounced commonly as Q, it can also be pronounced as Ku, which is another word for suffering or pain. But I've almost never, and I mean never, seen an apartment complex that has gotten rid of the number 9 or a building that has gotten rid of the 9th floor. Apparently the Japanese are not cool with dying, even though they have one of the highest suicide rates in the world, and yet are okay with suffering and pain a little bit, because that's life, right? Not many of you may know the term used in the title of this point here, but you've definitely seen these floating around all over Japan, especially if you've visited this country. Yurukaras are essentially these mascot characters that companies and services use to personify their company and service to a grander public, with a purpose of making said company or service seem more friendly and open and cute and kawaii. And look, I get it, it's a great marketing move. I mean, you know, Western companies do it all the time. Look at the Pringles guy, or Ronald McDonald, or any of these other creepy mascot characters. But if there's one thing that Japan is really fucking good at, it's being over excessive. Not only does every company and service imaginable have a yurikara, but even regions, towns, prefectures, events, you name it, will 99% of the time have some kind of original yurikara attached to it. And when it gets to this point, there are just way too many yurikaras that I have to apparently try and remember and identify immediately. Like, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna remember 300 different yurikaras from 300 different situations that I experienced last year. Because most of these characters are either really crappily designed and sometimes don't serve any purpose whatsoever. And the worst thing about it is when a company or a service or an event that has said yurikara decides to make a physical costume of said yurikara and stuffs an unlucky employee into that to waddle around and try and be friendly. For what reason? None, really. Like, dude, I don't care. I'm not gonna go up to this weird ass designed costume and try and take a picture with it when I don't know what the character is in itself, and all I can think about is how sorry I feel for the person stuck inside of that thing all day. So I get the whole kawaii movement in, you know, companies and Japanese services and whatnot, but just tone it down a little bit, Japan, please. Okay, here's a question for you. At the beginning of the new year, what do you guys do to celebrate? Some people go and relax with their families, some people go on a vacation, some people just, you know, take a well-deserved break from all of the hard work that they had to do last year. But some people, like the Japanese for instance, send little postcards to their family members and their friends to wish them a very good luck for the year to come. Now look, this is certainly a sweet sentiment, like I'm not that much of a stone cold bitch to completely ignore that fact. The problem is that it's become so ingrained in the Japanese culture that it has almost become a requirement for people to send these postcards even if you don't want to. We're living in an age now where most younger people have these things called smartphones, and so it's really easy to just type up a New Year's message and send it off to your friends via text than to go down all the way to the post office to buy overly expensive postcards and send them to your family members, from which they will probably throw away after a week. It's a waste of time, money, and resources, and I think is a custom that in Japan should probably get with the times, and we should just get rid of. I mean, I know a lot of friends and families and even entire countries that have gotten rid of the entire concept of sending Christmas cards to their family members and friends, so why can't Japan do the same thing with New Year's cards? Because I mean, at least with Christmas cards, there are these things called e-cards which people send via email or via text, and it's essentially the same thing, just minus the paper. Because we could be using those resources and money that we spent on a postcard that will be thrown away after a week on something like a gift that I can actually buy and is a little bit more tangent than, say, a piece of paper that says Happy New Year on it. I don't want to do it anymore. A lot of Japanese people don't want to do it anymore. Get rid of it. Yeah, you read that correctly. I wish I was making that up, but I know for certainty that you have to pay a large sum of money to the newlywed and the groom when you attend a wedding, because I had to do exactly that when I attended my friend's wedding here in Japan a couple of years ago. Now, every country and culture has its own set of rules and customs when it comes to special events like this, but at least in Japan, it is a rule and a custom that you have to send 30,000 yen to the newlywed and groom to attend their wedding. In some instances, some weddings that are way more traditional than others, if you forget that 30,000 yen, then you actually don't even get to attend the wedding. All because of the fact that it is considered rude that you didn't bring a gift. Now, this may just be me talking from personal experience, but I actually find it more heartless to give an envelope full of cold hard cash to the groom than it is for me to say take that cash and to go out and buy a tangible gift that I took the time to pick, choose, buy, and wrap. Giving cold hard cash at a wedding is kind of like that one uncle that you get to meet on your birthday once a year who gives you like 50 bucks in an envelope and just says, you know what, I couldn't be fucked to think of a gift because I don't really care or know about you all that much, so yeah. Go take that and buy whatever you want. I don't give a shit. Like Japan, not everything has to have these set rules and set customs. You can be a little bit more flexible with this kind of stuff. It's a celebration. Lighten up the mood already. So you know how I've been saying in this video that Japan has rules and customs with everything? Well, I meant that very literally. Because this is a country, mind you, that even has rules for where you must stand and sit in certain situations. Now, of course, in a casual setting with your friends or family, you can sit or stand wherever the f your heart desires. But in Japanese business settings, there are primarily two rules for standing and seating positions: kamiza and shimoza. To overly simplify, the person who has the highest status in the company or circumstance must be situated in the kamiza, and the one with lowest status needs to be situated in the shimoza. Everybody else in between needs to sit or stand in a certain order between the two. This includes meeting rooms, restaurants, elevators, even taxis. To that, all I have to say is, who the flying cares? Just let me sit or stand wherever the I want. Let the boss sit or stand wherever the he wants. Can I relax for even one goddamn second in this country? Again, it just causes way too much unnecessary stress, especially to those younger Japanese boys and girls who are starting out in the workforce here. And it's just a huge waste of time. Like, we have to wait. Like, is the boss really going to be that frustrated with me if he's standing in a particular space in the elevator? No, of course not. Who the would? God, Japan is so stupid sometimes. Jesus Christ. But while I rage out about standing and seating situations in Japanese business circumstances, there is really nothing more defining of how stupid Japanese customs and traditions and just people can get, especially when you're talking about Christmas and Halloween in Japan. Now, I've already done a full What the Fuck Japan episode on the weird and bastardized edition of Christmas here in Japan, so I'll leave that link in the description below so you can just go and watch that. So instead, I'm going to be touching more upon the concept of Halloween here in Japan because, man, I hate Halloween here with every fiber of my being. For the past couple of years, Halloween has just turned into this giant riot of dumb Japanese teens and adults going around getting drunk, tipping trucks over, doing shady illegal shit on the streets, endangering innocent passers-by, and causing a large amount of traffic accidents all across the country. And not only does it turn the beautiful and lovely city of Shibuya into what I can only describe as a hell on earth, but it also just completely misses the point of Halloween as a holiday. Literally nobody is out trick-or-treating, and those that are in costume are dressing as slutty as possible for a quick and spooky Halloween one-night stand. Now look, I wasn't much of a Halloween person growing up in Australia because we don't really celebrate Halloween in Australia. I mean, some families do. My family just wasn't really one for Halloween all that much. But after looking at how the other half of my heritage treats Halloween, let's just say I didn't really miss out on much. And finally, one of my biggest grievances that I have about the Japanese culture as a Japanese man living here is the concept of zangyo, which for those of you who don't know is the Japanese word for staying back and working. Now I'm sure many of you are aware of the absolutely insane work culture that Japan has, if the previous entries on this list didn't already prove otherwise. But one thing I can say is the absolute root of the evil, root of the problem, is the entire concept of zangyo. Now I made a What the Fuck Japan episode quite a while ago with my buddy Gaijin Goomba as to how this concept of zangyo is essentially causing people in Japan to overwork themselves to literal death. Links to that in the description. But there are actually many types of zangyo here in Japan that go from the somewhat logical to the absolutely absurd. I for one fully understand if, for example, you had to stay back and finish off a project that you need to get done on that day. If it was completely your responsibility to get that one thing done by the end of the day, then yeah, you are pretty much obligated to stay back and finish it off without the extra paying hours, because it's essentially your fault that you're staying back. But then Japan decides to take that concept like 6 million steps further with the idea of inokori zangyo. This happens when you are completely finished with your work and you decide to end it for the day. You're just like, you know what, I finished with all my work, I'm done, time to go home. Yet everybody around you, all of your senpais and co-workers and your bosses around you are still staying back. And so to maintain the respect for your peers and co-workers, you are socially obligated to stay back with them until all of them decide that it's time to leave, that it's time to go home. In other words, you are trapped in your office not because you're a responsible adult who has finished everything that they needed to do for that day, but because your senpais and your bosses are irresponsible and incompetent adults who are not able to finish their work within the day. And thus you are the one as an underling who has to pay for the consequences of their inadequacy. Like, just f*** off. I don't care if my boss isn't finished with his shit. I'm finished with my shit. Let me go home. It's a waste of space, causes unnecessary stress, and just serves no benefit to either party. Seriously, if there's one thing I want from the Japanese culture that needs to change, is its work culture. Get rid of this hierarchical status system and just treat everybody like everybody else like the West does. Maybe then you'll actually get some work done instead of having to stay back and pretend like we're getting work done. I actually experienced inokori zangyo firsthand when I interned at a Japanese IT company some years ago, and it was agony, to say the least. The worst part is that I wasn't even allowed to sit down and like check and browse my Twitter. Like, I had to sit there and pretend like I was working because we were in a work environment. Worse still, I actually got asked to start doing shit for tomorrow, today, while everybody was staying back with no extra pay. So if I'm having to stay back anyway, even though I've finished work because everybody around me is incompetent that they can't get their work done, then what the is the point? Seriously, Japan, you are literally killing people out here with this whole overworking culture. Just relax, guys. So yeah, there you go. Those were 10 things about Japan that I, as a half Japanese man, will just never understand. Obviously, there are more than 10 things in Japanese customs and traditions and culture that I will never understand, but these 10 were probably the most important and some of the most, I guess, relatable topics for even for someone who doesn't really know a whole lot about Japanese customs and traditions. Let me know what you guys think about any of the things that I said in this video, and hey, while we're at it, you know, every single culture and every single country from all over the world has different types of customs and traditions. Sometimes those that, you know, locals of that country don't necessarily agree upon. So if you do live overseas, whatever country you may live in, let me know if there are any local customs and traditions and cultural things in your country that you, as a local of that country, just don't understand. I think it'd be really interesting to kind of share that, considering we do have a worldwide audience that gathers to my channel, and I appreciate that. So let's have a discussion. Let's have a fun little comparison. So let me know any of that kind of stuff all in the comments below. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Like and favorite if you enjoyed, subscribe for any of banner. Keep watching anime. Jenni.